Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here, and welcome to another episode of Jambareeqi Orange, the show where I let my patrons decide what I review. This month's poll included Transformers the movie, Mickey, Donald and Goofy in The Three Musketeers, Jonah, a VeggieTales movie, Ratatouille, TMNT, and The Last Unicorn. They chose The Last Unicorn. In The Last Unicorn, a beautiful unicorn discovers that she's the last of her kind, and the cruel King Haggard has trapped her race in the ocean, using a beastly Red Bull. A clumsy magician called Schmemrick and a kind lady called Molly agree to help the unicorn's plight. But after an encounter with the Red Bull, Schmemrick ends up turning the unicorn into a human. The three journey to King Haggard's castle to find a way to change the unicorn back to normal and free her kind from the king's clutches. While at the castle, the unicorn ends up falling in love with the prince, while Schmendrick and Molly take on servant duties. Many people see this movie as one of their childhood favourites, to the point where they played their VHS copies so much that their tapes became unreadable. While it's nice that a movie can resonate with so many children, especially one this strange, dark and unusual, I cannot say that it spoke to me personally. I wanted to like this movie, I really did. It has so many interesting themes, the kinds of ideas that I love in stories. The disturbing concept of being uncomfortably trapped inside another body and gradually losing your memory of who you really are. Criticism of how possessive, shallow and exploitative some people in society can be. Yet, despite having all these elements that usually click with me, The Last Unicorn failed to connect with me emotionally. There are parts of the film that are supposed to break my heart, make me think and give me strong, weird feelings, but I felt so incredibly empty throughout the movie. I never grew up with this movie, so it's not got any nostalgic value to me. I've also not read the book it's based on, so I'm not a fan of the source material either. What made it even harder to step into the experience though, was the film's unforgivably frantic way of telling its story. As soon as the film started, I felt like I was being bombarded with a constant barrage of lengthy exposition, wacky antics, aggressive conflicts, overwritten character monologues, and very fast world building. I just sat there feeling uninterested and exhausted as the movie relentlessly pushed forward, without giving me enough time to get invested in the atmosphere or narrative. This is one trippy movie, and I do expect many people will find some fun in how psychedelic it all is, but personally, I thought this far-out weirdness was more overwhelmingly obnoxious than endearingly charming. Whenever the film tried to be emotional or meaningful, my feelings remained unmoved, because I didn't feel like I'd been given enough time to fall in love with this movie's world and characters. Yes, this film does have very mature and intelligent dialogue, penned by the author himself, but these words ring hollow when I'm not emotionally invested in what's happening. The film does slow down at one point when our heroes reach King Haggard's castle, but then the movie becomes really boring, as it reaches the other extreme of the pacing spectrum and becomes too slow. It's so dreary watching the unicorn mope around the castle, monologuing about his sadness as everyone waits around without much of an idea about what to do. Not aiding the dullness is the fact that from this point, we suddenly get musical numbers completely out of nowhere. And these songs are not only bland and tedious, but are also performed by voice actors who clearly didn't know how to sing.
And now, I'd like to make a speech about the love that touches each, but stumbling I would make you laugh. I feel as though my tongue were made of clay.
Now that I'm a woman, everything is strange.
The other reason why this film failed to strike a chord with me was how dated, cheap and crude its animation came across. Rankin Bass are renowned for cutting costs for their movies, and this film is no different. Sure, the unicorn looks very pretty in both of her forms, and the movie's more expensive shots do stand out, but it's still very much a Rankin Bass production. Characters' faces really lack any relatable human emotion, because their expressions are so stilted and wooden. Without a high standard of animation, I couldn't read these characters' emotions on a visual level, and this further distanced me from the film. If this film means a lot to you, then that's great, but I'm afraid that I'm not a Last Unicorn fan. I like the film in premise, but the extreme pacing issues and crude animation made this film too difficult for me to resonate with. I've been Jambareeqi and I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, then feel free to subscribe to my channel. So, what am I going to be reviewing in the next episode of Jambareeqi Orange? Well, that's entirely up to my patrons. The options for next month's poll include Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders, Captain Underpants, Black Panther the Animated Series, Flight of the Dragons, We're Back, A Dinosaur Story, and The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride. How awesome are these choices? Even I want to vote on my own poll. Now, keep in mind that you can't access the poll unless you become a patron. What is a patron? Don't worry, let me explain. This is my Patreon. It's a site for my fans to make monthly donations to me. Those who donate are called patrons. The money I receive goes towards funding my videos and serves as a supportive income for me. Patrons can donate as much as they want each month and stop donating any time. All donations are greatly appreciated, and in return for their patronage, patrons are given exciting rewards, depending on how much they donate, including their names credited in my main show, access to exclusive videos, and the chance to decide a review on my channel. Once you become a patron, you'll be able to access the poll through a link in the description box below. I'm very excited to find out which film my patrons want me to review next. Cheerio, folks.